Pre-counting arrangements in state legislative council election. Disclaimer: this training material is for use in training of election officials. It should not be referred as guideline of commission. In case of any variance in this training material, the commission guidelines, rules, laws shall prevail. Learning outcomes. At the end of the session, the participants will be able to cite the sections of RP Act 1951 and Rules of Conduct of Election Rule 1961 related to counting of votes. Discuss the appointment of counting personnel and counting agents. Identify the persons not to be appointed as counting agents. Know the persons allowed in the counting hall. They will also be able to explain the section 128 of RP Act 1951. Let's discuss counting of votes. Counting of votes are regulated by section 64 to 67A of RP Act 1951 and Rule 71 to 83 of Conduct of Election Rules 1961. The counting of votes shall be taken up only when returning officer receives the clearance in writing from the commission after it has been considered RO's report after completion of the election. The counting should be done at one place only under RO's direct supervision because of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. For simultaneous election from more than one council constituency, the counting for one constituency shall be done by the returning officer and for another one it shall be done by the ARO subject to the overall control of returning officer. As far as possible, counting to be done in adjacent halls in the same building so the returning officer can have an effective control. The room should be spacious enough to accommodate infrastructure, counting officials and counting agents. In each counting hall, proper security and sitting arrangements to be ensured. Proper lighting arrangements to be done. Counting tables. Normally, counting tables should not be more than 15 for sorting out ballot papers candidate-wise with reference to the first preference marked. The further process of counting, including distribution of surplus votes of elected candidates and the distribution of total votes of candidates excluded from the poll, will be mainly conducted at returning officer's table. As the poll in council constituencies is taken at different polling stations spread over the constituency, returning officer will have to keep in view different considerations in regard to the fixing of date, time and place of counting. Notice of the date, place and time shall be given to each candidate or their election agent at least 1 week before the date of poll. The format of notice is shown on the screen. If for any unavoidable reason the counting is postponed, then the returning officer to fix another date and time, and if necessary, another place for the counting of votes. Returning officer to give notice to every change in writing to each candidate or their election agent. Appointment of counting personnel. According to Rule 53 of Conduct of Election Rule 1961, returning officer to appoint counting supervisors and counting assistants. Counting supervisors will be gazetted officer of central or state government or equivalent officers. Counting assistants, they will be drawn from the officers of comparatively higher level. So at each counting table, there shall be one counting supervisor, two or more counting assistants. Counting agent. Each candidate may be permitted to appoint as many counting agents as there are counting tables. One more counting agent to watch the counting at the returning officer's table. A candidate may appoint all his counting agents by a single letter in Form 18. All agents to sign the letter in token of their acceptance of the appointment. All agents to sign the declaration later in RO's presence also. Candidate to submit the list at least 2 days before the date of counting, along with the photographs of such agents. Counting agents should be persons from the same legislative council constituency. Persons not to be appointed as counting agent. Sitting minister either of union government or of state government, sitting MPs, MLAs, MLCs. Chief head chairperson of urban local bodies, that is, mayor of a corporation, chairperson of a municipality, Zilla Parishad, Zilla Panchayat. Chairperson and members of central PSUs, state PSUs, government bodies, corporations. Persons receiving honorarium from the government, or persons working on a part-time in any government institution or government-aided institution. And also the government servant. And if the government servant becomes the counting agent, then he is punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 months or with fine or with both. Persons allowed in the counting hall. Returning officer, assistant returning officer, counting supervisor and counting assistant. Persons authorized by the Election Commission. Public servants on duty in connection with the election. Candidates, their election agents and counting agents. No security guards accompanying any candidate or his election agent or any one of his counting agents shall be allowed to enter the counting hall in any circumstances. Secrecy of vote. Returning officer to read out the provision of section 128 of RP Act 1951 regarding secrecy of vote. Explain the procedure of counting to counting supervisor and counting assistants. Thereafter, counting will commence. Counting shall not be commenced unless all the ballot boxes from all the polling stations have reached to the returning officer. In this educational video, we have learned about the pre-counting arrangements in state legislative council elections. If you have any doubt or want any clarification, then you can contact through the mail as shown on the screen. For other videos and rules and regulations, you can visit the web address as shown. Thank you.